Hi, everyone. Technical difficulties. So thank you so much for joining us at this ScratchJr Sneak Peek webinar. We're so excited to have you all here. Just a few logistics before we get started on the webinar. So my name is Amanda Strawhacker. I'm a research scientist on the ScratchJr team, and I'll also be your moderator for this evening's webinar. So you may notice that you're on mute. That's actually intentional. We ask that you leave the microphones muted and the video turned off for the talk, just to make it easier for everyone to hear Mitch and Marina discuss our amazing ScratchJr app. And we'll also be recording the whole session so that you can view it later, or we'll link it and we'll send out information about how to access that. And just because we do want you to still participate, even though your microphones are muted, you'll notice on the bottom right of your screen that you have a chat option. So please feel free to use that throughout the entire webinar to communicate with us. For technical questions, it might be better to use the chat through the talk, and then afterwards there's going to be a Q&A session. So you can save more, I guess, research or curiosity-oriented questions for that section. So for now, I'm just going to hand it over to Mitch and Marina, and they will take it away.
Great. Well, welcome. I'm Mitch Resnick.
And I'm Marina Bers. Hi.
Nope.
Nope. You're fine.
Okay, good. Hopefully everyone can hear us. If you have any troubles and you can't hear us, then use the chat area, and Amanda will be monitoring the chat area and can respond if you have any issues you need to deal with. But we're really happy to have you here to get a chance to talk with you about ScratchJr.
We really want to first thank you for all your support, for helping us make this dream a reality, and all the pledges, and now we're ready to go. We're ready to roll. So we want to really start by thanking you for believing in this project and for helping us.
We're excited. We've been working on this for a few years, and based on support from the Kickstarter backers and others, we're ready to be launching the app later this summer. And it's great to be able to give you a sneak preview now. And over the next hour, we'll be showing you a little bit about ScratchJr, but also talking about some of the ideas that led to ScratchJr and some of our motivations for working on it, and then also some of our future plans with it. So with that, we thought it would probably be best to start just by showing you a little bit about how ScratchJr works. I know you saw a little bit in the Kickstarter video. We want to actually put the current version of the app. There's still a beta version, but we'll start up the beta version so you'll get a chance to see it. So let me bring it up here. And we'll okay. So let me also okay, so hopefully you can now see the ScratchJr screen. And as for those of you who know Scratch, and the icon of the Scratch is the cat, we have a new cat for ScratchJr. So there's the ScratchJr cat, which is
it's actually the little sister. You can see it looks like a ScratchJr kitten.
Yeah. And so if we want to then start moving and interacting with the cat, we can start pulling out blocks. So here's a block to move to the right. And if I tap on the block, it moves to the right. If we pull out the jump block and tap on it, it will jump. And then we just snap the two blocks together, and we now have our first script, our first program. And I can click anywhere on there, and the cat takes a step and then jumps. If we want to have the cat say something, we could go to another category. Here's a category that's the looks category, and here's a block. If we click on it, the cat says hi. If we snap it together, we'll then have it be able to say hi. But actually, rather than say hi,
why don't you welcome people, Mitch?
Sure.
More friendly.
Yeah, so maybe we'll say something about, welcome to ScratchJr. Now I can tap on it.
Good.
Yes.
That looks good.
But actually, I think maybe the cat should be even more excited. It could jump a couple times. So if I jump a couple times, we can bring out, here's a repeat block, and it has a space in there for what we repeated. And I think what we want to do is we want to take the first two, the move and the jump, and let's repeat the two of those. Move this over here. So move and jump 4 times. So if I tap on that, let's move the cat over so it has a little more room. That's excitedly moving around, and it says welcome to ScratchJr.
That's good. So how about this cat seems lonely? Can you add a friend for him?
Sure. Okay. So let's bring a friend in. So here's where the list of characters are. They're called sprites and Scratch. We call them characters here usually. So if we hit the plus sign, we get to choose another character. So what character do you want?
Let's look at a purple girl.
Okay. There's
one of our favorites.
We'll select that. Move it over. So now, and here you see we don't have any scripts yet for the purple character. So we can see if I click on the cat, we see the cat scripts. And we click on the purple character, and we see. So maybe we'll have them. Oops, let me do that.
Don't be late right now.
No. So, but maybe it could be a conversation. So since the cat is saying welcome to ScratchJr, maybe the character, the purple is okay. Oh, is it ready?
Right.
Okay, so let's have it say.
Remember, you have to delete.
Thank you. Now if I just tap on that. But let's say if we want to coordinate that, let's go back to the cat. And as in Scratch, a lot of times the way we start a script is we'll start a project with a green flag. So we say when the green flag is clicked, maybe just have this do it 2 times, not 4 times. So the cat will get started. We'll hit the green flag. It'll do its coming in and welcoming.
So Mitch, how do we program the girl so she will come?
So, well, we want her to start with the green flag. But, well, if we try this, oops.
Right, I think we need
it's
to.
A little premature. And then
I think we have to wait for something to happen.
So here's a wait block. Let's just slide a wait block in there. And actually, 10 ticks to a second. So that's waiting a second. So I'm not sure how long, but let's just guess. Maybe it'll be like 4 seconds. I'll type in a 40 for 4 seconds. The part of the idea is to also just have kids will start using numbers and experiment with numbers like this. Let's try the green flag and see what happens. Welcome to ScratchJr. Oh, yeah, the time wasn't that bad.
So maybe how about showing them how to create a background?
Yeah, because right now, they're
floating.
Okay, so here, over on this side of ScratchJr, we have, this is where the pages are. So we can see this is right now in the first scene. And if we want to get a background, we can just click on the background icon up top. And actually, where do you think they should be?
I think it should be in the beach because ScratchJr is going to be coming out this summer.
Okay.
We'll be at the beach.
Okay. So where you're from in Argentina, it's going to be winter time.
I know.
Okay, but you really adjusted to Boston. Okay. So now we have the 2 characters on the beach.
And actually, Mitch, what? I changed my mind. Can we make her green?
Oh, okay. So the purple character, you don't purple?
I don't.
Well, luckily we have a paint editor.
We do.
Okay, so we can, here with the purple character, we click on the paint editor. And there's the paint bucket is clicked. So you want green, like this color green. And then if we'll just click, there it is. Now the green character. So we'll say okay. Now a green character. Okay. So, actually, let's try our story again. The cat gets started. Welcome to ScratchJr. And now the green character, now the purple one says it's ready. So,
you know what? I don't think they're gonna find ScratchJr at the beach. They need to go back to the city to find their computer.
So maybe we better make another scene.
Yes.
Okay.
We need to get out of the beach.
Okay, so here's where we can make another scene. So these are the pages or scenes in the ScratchJr story. So if we add another scene and then give it a background. So here's a city scene. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's coming to Boston.
Okay.
ScratchJr.
Okay, there's the thing. Okay, let's go back to the beach. And now maybe we can have the cat say kind of like, let's explore. So after it welcomes, it can wait a little bit. And then the cat can say, let's explore. But then after the cat says, let's explore, then we want to shift to the next scene. We'll go to the city. So here's where you have these end blocks. You notice when we created the new page or the new scene, create a new end block here that says to go to the second page of the second scene. So at the end of the cat saying, let's explore, it'll then jump to the second scene.
An idea. Can you show it in presentation mode so you can really see the story?
So, okay, let's take a look at the story. So if we click up here, this will go into full stage. And now let's move the cat over to get a little more space. Let's hit the green flag and check out the whole story. Jumping excitedly, welcome to ScratchJr. The green, previously purple character says, you ready? Let's explore, and there it is.
That's great.
Let's say,
you definitely know ScratchJr.
Okay. So anyway, hopefully, let's leave for a moment the ScratchJr. We'll stop sharing that and come back.
And throughout the webinar, we'll be showing you a lot of more sophisticated things that we can do with ScratchJr. We just wanted to give you a quick preview of what it looks like, or how easy and how quickly you can start a project or you can start a story.
So we thought after giving a little taste of ScratchJr, so we spent a little bit of time just sharing about some of the history of ScratchJr, how it is that we got started working on this and some of the ideas behind it. And then after that, we'll jump back in and show you some more of the features. And then we'll take your questions at the end. So actually, in some ways, you can really trace ScratchJr back a long, long way if you look at the where the ideas came from. In fact, the way that Marina and I first connect with each other is with both of us had studied with Seymour Papert at the MIT Media Lab. Seymour was one of the great pioneers of computers and learning, and both of us were really, really inspired by him. And I think one thing we both learned from him was the value and importance of having kids learn by designing and creating and expressing themselves. So I think in our work, we've always been trying to see how can we develop new technologies to provide kids the opportunity to create things and express themselves. So I think that a lot of each of our work over the years leading up to ScratchJr has sort of helped build a foundation that is strong upon. I mean, over the years, building on that work with Seymour, I've done work with the Lego toy company with how kids can learn by building robotic devices and programming them. So we worked on the Lego Mindstorm kit for helping kids do robotics. And then you also did work with robotics with younger kids.
Right. So having come from the Media Lab where we did all this work with robotics for older kids, I was trying to find ways to work with younger children. So I'm a professor in a child development department, and we have a big program on early childhood development and early childhood education. And somehow all these technologies that we have developed before that were so successful, so amazing for older children, for 8 years and up, we're not quite making it for younger children. We needed to really think in different ways. And so for the last several years in my research group here at TAF, we've been exploring technologies that are developmentally appropriate for young kids. Especially we've been working with wooden blocks and the kiwi programming robots.
I know you covered some of this. You have a book called Blocks to Robots that talks about some of those ideas.
Yes.
And then the Kiwi robot you've been working on, that also is getting ready to get out to the world. So you're doing a Kickstarter for that. It's called Kibo now. Is that what it's called?
Yes, we just launched a Kickstarter and similar ideas of ScratchJr, but in a tangible world. How can we help children learn programming through the tangible objects?
So, well, both of us have done things with kids engaged in the physical world, whether we were building with Lego or with the Kiwi and Kibo robotics for younger kids. We're also aware that kids these days spend a lot of time interacting on the computer screen. And I think we've been somewhat frustrated with the fact that a lot of the ways that kids engage on the computer screen is not really following that idea of expressing themselves and creating things.
So I like to talk about the playground.
Yeah.
So like the second book is out of the playpen into the playground, very much like Scratch is the playground.
Yeah.
So you can really explore and express yourself and problem solve at the same time.
Yes, we really want to move away from kids just browsing and chatting and playing games to much more designing and creating things. So that's what led us to start developing Scratch. About 10 years ago, we started working on Scratch as a programming language. It was building very much on Seymour Papert's Logo programming language, really bringing it into the 21st century, making it, be able to connect with more media and be able to be much more accessible to kids. So about 7 years ago now, we launched Scratch as a programming language to allow kids to create their own interactive stories and games and animations, and then share their creations with one another. And we've just been really excited about all of the ways that people have used Scratch. So there's now, since it got launched, there's been about 5 million Scratch projects shared on the Scratch website. And we've been really excited by the diversity of those projects. Kids make everything from guided tours of their community to tutorials to animated birthday cards, just an incredible diverse range of different ways that they express themselves in Scratch. But with Scratch, we designed it for ages 8 and up. And that's actually where it's being used. It's primarily, you look at where kids start using Scratch, it's like age 8 to 16 is where most of the Scratch use is. And even more so, a lot of it is like age 10 to 14 is where the real core use of Scratch is. So it's great that there's this now environment where kids can really express themselves on the computer and create their own interactive stories and games. But it's for somewhat older kids.
So I had very young kids at the time that Scratch was coming up. And so, of course, I started sitting with them and trying to play with them with Scratch. And, of course, with an adult next to them, they can do it. But I started very quickly to notice some of the interface challenges that they were encountering, and also some of the ideas, the concepts were not really aligned with the way the young kids think. So I started thinking, well, when would we like to have a version of Scratch that young kids can start using on their own? Because when you have a big class or you have a lot of kids, like in my case, you have 3 kids, you cannot sit all the time next to each one. You want to create an interface that kids can use on their own, and they don't know how to read. And so there you have another challenge. So we keep thinking about that, and with my research group, with all the experience that we had learned from using Kiwi and designing a language that was simple, and allow kids to understand programming concepts but with simple blocks, then I was thinking, well, maybe there's something we can do here. And I remember calling you and saying, hey, Mitch, how about we get together and we think about what it would look like Scratch for younger kids?
Yeah. And I think we wanted sort of the same, we want to keep the same values as Scratch, the same sort of learning opportunities, to have kids be able to think creatively, reason systematically, the same way they do in Scratch, being able to design and create things and develop new problem-solving and design skills, but to make it appropriate for younger kids.
So that's basically the story of how ScratchJr was born. And we, the rest is we went ahead, we wrote a proposal to the
So we're really grateful to the National Science Foundation who provided funding to really help us get started with that. It's been about 3 years ago now.
It's been 3 years ago since we got the proposal. We actually wrote the proposal 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been 4 years that we've been thinking with these ideas, and we went through a lot of iterations. What you're seeing today is the final candidate.
Yeah,
it looks very differently, and we learned a lot. We started by developing a ScratchJr version that was on the web, and then we went through, we learned from people that they wanted really on the iPad, on the tablet.
So we went through lots of iterations with we teamed up with some close friends of ours at the Playful Invention Company, Paula Bonta and Brian Silverman. So we worked with them on for rapid iterations that we would come up with a new prototype, and then Marina and her team would go out into schools, try it out with kids and with teachers, and to give us feedback, and then we'd do revisions and new versions. So we went through it over and over.
So for the last 3 years, we've been having weekly meetings, and really every little design choice had hours of discussion.
So maybe we should go, let's go back and take a look at ScratchJr again, and we'll talk about some of the things that we thought about in trying to make ScratchJr accessible and appropriate for younger kids. There. Let me.
So one of the first things that we actually immediately realized is, like in Scratch, the blocks are built from top to bottom, and that's how you connect them together. But here we're talking about kids who are learning how to read and write, so we don't want to confuse them. So it was very important to be able to create a sequence of blocks from left to right.
Also, it turns out that in Scratch, we actually have words on the blocks. It describes them the words, and we thought it would be better to use icons with younger kids. And once you use icons, it actually works well going left to right. Because when we have the Scratch blocks where the words go left to right, it was hard to have the blocks stack up left to right, so it made sense to go top to bottom there. But here with the icons, it made sense going left to right, and it fits in with us kids who are learning to read.
Yeah, one of the things we kept from Scratch is the grouping of the blocks into categories, and the categories are very, very clearly identified by the color. So you have,
Yeah, so these are like the triggering events that start off as script, and then motion blocks, and then looks blocks for saying things, for getting bigger and smaller, for showing and hiding, sound blocks for you can record your own sounds, control blocks, that's where the repeat block and the time block came from later. You can also change the speed of things. And then these new end blocks, it can make something go on forever and also to go to the next scene.
So one of the other things that we added is the grid. So you might want to show them the grid. Yeah. You haven't done it yet.
So actually, we can actually now turn on the grid so you can actually see the size here. I'm not sure if you can read it on the screen. We also want to, we knew for younger kids, we want to have things that we're dealing with small positive integers. So with this, in Scratch, the coordinate system goes from -240 to +240 along the x direction, and -180 to +180 in the y direction. And that just seemed like it wasn't going to be the right thing for 5 to 7-year-olds.
Even more, kids at that age might not even understand what the x and y is. So if you move your cat around, you will see that it shows the different numbers. So now you can say that your cat, is at 6 and 4.
And you can even see then if I pull out and move to the right. Right now, the cat's at 4, and let's say I move to the right by 2. So I'm going to tap on this, move to 2. It goes from 4 to 6.
So we thought that,
and from 6 to 8.
So we thought that introducing the grid was a way to really reinforce mathematical concepts that they were learning at school and make it very clear. So it gives feedback to the children. This is what's happening. In Scratch, you really need to look very, very closely at the x and y moving. Here it was very obvious. So I think the grid, and we spent hours, how many hours? I don't know, we spent hours discussing this grid.
Well, for those math educators out there, we spent a lot of time thinking about where the grid should be labeled in the spaces or on the lines. And we won't go into all of it now, but there's a lot of discussions about where the pluses and minuses, because young kids will start sort of counting with blocks. And so labeling them on the spaces is like counting the blocks of the system. But again, there's a lot of discussion that went into that and a lot of thinking that went into it. We also simplified other ways from Scratch, just in the way that the characters move around. We do have the motion blocks, you're just moving left, right, up, and down, as opposed to being able to set a heading and going off any heading. That was another simplification.
So one of the key things that we did in ScratchJr is really try to make things very, very simple. But at the same time, allowing children to be able to express themselves creatively, to create any project they want, but in a simple way. So in ScratchJr, less was more. And that was part of the challenge from going from Scratch to ScratchJr. How do we have a program that's open enough, but it's not confusing?
And I think trying it out with kids was really important to see. We wanted to make sure that it still had the expressive range, because we wanted kids to be able to use their imaginations and create things that, were on their
So
mind.
one of the things in terms of expression, one of the things that young kids do is work with a lot of sound. So we created a way for children to be able to record their own sound and program it. So maybe
So we'll make a green character now. In fact, maybe we could even do some clicking to make a new sound. So I'll record it. And actually, we could maybe, why don't we use your voice? And since the voice balloon says, "Is it ready?" Why don't you just record your voice for the green character, and you can say, "Is it ready?" I think, "Is it ready yet?"
Is it ready yet?
Let's try it. Oops. Oh.
Is it ready yet?
Okay. So we'll accept that. And now it made a block. It has it. So if I click on it.
Is it ready yet?
That sounds good. So maybe I'll put it here right before the voice balloon shows. And let's
try it out, because that's a lot of what the kids do. They create, they try.
Okay. And then let's still try the whole story again. That sounds.
Is it ready yet? Okay, so we have some
time. Yeah, our timing. We'll have to play with the timing a little bit.
But this is exactly the kind of experience we want children to have. Try something out. It didn't work. That's great that it didn't work, because now we have a learning opportunity. And then let's go back and try to fix it and see what's happening. We want children debugging.
So I think there's this. In fact, if we want them to come, actually, I'll show one thing. So here's my first way. We didn't practice this before. When I'm thinking of debugging this, I'm going to say, well, if we want those two things to happen at the same time, we could have two green flags, and we'll tell each of them to wait 40. So now the green character will be running two scripts at the same time. So when you hit the green flag, both the scripts will wait, and then it'll say, "Stay the voice balloon." That's it. Should we give it a try?
Let's try.
We'll go into full screen mode again.
And also, that's good. Get rid of the green.
What's this, ScratchJr?
Is it ready yet?
Great. Okay, good.
So, Mitch, I think this is, we designed ScratchJr for kindergarten to second grade, and as kids start getting to second grade, we also want them to become a little bit ready to move on to Scratch. And so we have built in some a little bit more complicated functionalities, and maybe you want to show them some of them, like how to pass messages.
Yeah, so one thing, and even in this example, we do want to coordinate between different characters. And that's an important idea in computer science and programming, how to coordinate different processes. And in Scratch, it gets used. We have a broadcast command where you can broadcast a message from one character to another character, and the other character can listen for it. So we have a version of that here, but a simplified version, where if we take a look here, we have different messages that the characters can pass from one to the other.
And the messages, you might want to show how different colors.
Yes, so actually here. So right now, I think here I'm going to also, I'm going to get rid of this block. To get rid of a block, I can just throw it back up here. I'm going to pull out, I'm going to want the cat, after the cat sort of says it's welcome, I'm going to then have the cat send a message, and the green character is going to listen for the message, and the green character will know how to start. So that way, we won't have to play with the timing and and use the wait command. So here, right, we can make the message any color we want. What color message do you want?
Green.
It's going to the
green
message for the green character. So we have a green message. So that's if we want to start something when a green message here is, and this is how we send a green message. So now I could say the cat, after the cat jumps around and welcomes, I'm then going to have the cat send a green message. So the green character can just wait there and say, whenever I get that green message, the cat has done its welcome, and now I'm ready to do my thing. So let's go back to the green character. And actually, I'm going to, oops.
Yeah, you can go back to the editor.
Oh yeah, so here.
Just there. Yeah.
So I didn't like the fact that it's still called purple even though it's now green. So I'm going to change its name.
And we on purpose decided to leave words there, although some kids might not be able to read and write, because this is the way to introduce children to literacy. We don't want programming to be completely isolated from whatever else they're doing.
So kids can start without knowing a language, but it's a good entry path for them to start playing with words. So here, now we can just say, whenever it gets a green message, when it receives the green message, it will then say the voice balloon and have the reported sound. So, but we haven't fully, we disconnected things. But actually, let's just try it now. I sort of like to, so now we're just trying on the communication side of things. So, as you said, this is more complicated. This is not what kindergartners would do. But I think we've seen in the classroom that, second graders move on to
actually, we did see kindergartens who've been working with ScratchJr for not one time, for a whole semester. They were able to get this. So it's not, it is developmentally appropriate because it takes time to understand the ideas and it takes time to understand how the programming works.
So let's give this a try just to make sure they're coordinated well. The cat jumps, says welcome ScratchJr, then sends the green message. And now it's perfectly synchronized even without worrying about the wait commands. So now, we can, but after it sends the message, the cat should still wait a little bit and then say it's let's explore. Let's get rid of this. And if we go to the green character, we don't need these wait commands anymore. So back to green character, no longer is going to do anything directly with the green flag, but just wait till it gets a green message. Let's try one more time in full screen.
This is also an elegant way of programming.
Yes. It comes.
Is it ready yet?
There you have it. Good.
It's good.
So, and there are a few other, things that we can show you. Like there is a way also that you can just have a character do something when you tap on it. It's like as the cat starts exploring, maybe we want to make it so that when you tap on the cat, it gets bigger. So this says when I tap on the cat, it should get bigger. And now it's really ready to explore this.
Something I want people to notice, I'm sure they realize, but I want to make it explicit, is as you do things, the block gets highlighted. And it's very important because we want to reinforce the concept of cause and effect with children, one-to-one correspondence. And so that was very important. The other...
Well, maybe we really see it best. Let me just do it one more time here. Now we'll do the green flag again, but on this long script for the cat, you'll get a chance to see how the script highlights as it runs. So you see each of these gets repeated several times. And we see each of the...
Yes.
At that point, we're passing the message.
And now it's waiting, and now it's saying, and then it moves.
So some of the cool features that I love are in the Paint editor. We cannot...
Well, like with the camera, well, why don't we do a different project to show the camera features that we want to do? So like one of the features that we really like Actually, this is a new feature that's not in Scratch. We just added for ScratchJr. Here's a sample project that we were working on. Actually, this is Kala, our colleague. This is her daughter, Sophie. And you can see in here, if you go full screen, you can actually see Sophie put a picture of herself inside the astronaut. So you can actually use the camera and easily fill in different parts of your characters.
So we've seen this in our testing, very, very loved feature, and that allows to use the full functionality of the iPad and also to work on projects that are personally meaningful, which is you go around your house taking pictures of objects and then you can program those objects.
You also use the camera to make your own background. So here you're seeing some backgrounds. The ScratchJr comes with several dozen backgrounds. You've seen the beach and the city and the moon. But you can also use the camera to create your own, to take a picture, a photograph, make your own background.
And in terms of creating your own things, you can also, you've seen how we turned the purple girl into the green girl, but we can also draw our own characters and create our own characters.
So in fact, if we go back to our beach scene here, if we want to make another character, we can select. Let's just go through and see some of the characters that are there. Yeah.
There are some fish, I think, there.
Yeah, so we can choose. We could choose a fish. Of course, we also there's some people there. There's some different types of objects and trees and plants. But we could also, rather than choosing one of these, we can go to the paint editor and paint our own character. Oops.
We have just the empty one.
Oops.
Yeah.
My mistake. Actually, here, I'm going to get rid of this by this. So we'll go back, have the empty one chosen, go to the paint editor, and here you can do everything from, you can, well, let's see, we'll have a, you can draw circles, you can draw squares.
Notice how the paint, I love that feature, how it changes to tell you which color you're using.
Yes, we can fill this in. Yes, that's it. Yes, and you draw so I can sort of draw a mouth, a character, nose, and a couple eyes. Oops.
That's okay.
The very Picasso-esque, I think.
For a 5-year-old.
Well, that's about my level of doing the paint editor. So, and actually, I think you would often see some characters like this.
Yes, a lot.
Yes. I was trying to imitate a 5-year-old. That was my goal.
Yeah. Almost.
Yeah.
So I think that's basically a lot of the features of ScratchJr.
Yeah, I mean, there are other things you can also use text to put in. If I want to put in, you can put in labels, my first story. There's a variety of other features. I think that gives you a quick tour of the ScratchJr. And we're really excited to get this out to the world, but we're not going to stop there. I mean, it'll be great to get this out there and then to hear back from you and others about the ways you're using ScratchJr, get new suggestions. But we already have other things that we're starting to work on.
So, for example, right now, this is going to be released for the iPad sometime this summer. So stay tuned. It's going to happen very soon this summer. But we're also working on an Android version. And we're also working on all kinds of supporting materials for adults to work with children, guides, activity guides, curriculum materials, assessments in case they want to be using schools. We're also working on a series of little video tutorials that will include, we are trying to populate our website, so hopefully we'll be ready by the time we release, and the website will be growing with resources for parents and teachers to be able to access and use. We love our technology, we love ScratchJr, but we know that we need to provide the supporting materials for people to be able to use it in an open-ended.
Another thing which we will be working on is to have ways of sharing ScratchJr projects. One thing right now with the first version of ScratchJr, when you create your project on the iPad, there aren't easy ways of sharing your project. And that's something that we want to do more, but we started work on that, but we want to make sure that we design the right way of sharing that's really appropriate for kids this age. So we have some ideas, and after the first version comes out, we'll have updates that provide ways to be able to share projects. That's what we're working on now.
And I think this really reflects the way we work. We didn't want to have a technical solution that didn't really fit young kids. And there are a lot of safety issues, and there are a lot of typing issues and passwords. Kids don't remember passwords, or how do you make it? So instead of just choosing the fastest solution, we decided, well, we're going to wait a little bit and really have the time to explore, to test, to be able to have with these sharing piece as many iterations that we have with ScratchJr piece. And so we do believe in sharing, and we will work on it, but we want to do it the right way for young kids.
Learning to share is something you do in kindergarten, so we want to make sure that that gets supported. But maybe it'd be good now to be able to open up to people who are here at the webinar, see if they have any questions. So in the chat area, you should feel free to start typing in questions you have in the chat area, and we can take a look at that. I'm going to try to. Okay, anybody out there have any questions? Just type it in the chat at the bottom right of the screen, and we'll be.
So Arnold Eagleman is asking, how likely is it that ScratchJr would be adopted school system-wide as iPads are facilitated?
Yeah, so we are seeing a lot more in preschools and schools. We're seeing a lot more of one-to-one programs, and they usually tend to start in the kindergarten classrooms where they have a lot of pilot programs out there where they bring iPads. And so we actually moved to the iPad because we did a survey for lots of teachers and tons of schools. We were starting actually in the web. Our first version of ScratchJr was happening on the web, on the internet. And we did a survey to see what people were using in kindergarten to 2. And we learned that K-2 classrooms did not have high internet connections and enough computers for one child, but they did have tablets, and they did have iPads and other kinds of tablets. So we decided, so we believe, or we feel that the tablets and the iPads are going to be there in the classroom.
And of course, it's evolved. It's still in the early stages, but we're seeing them coming in even more rapidly than we expected. So,
and they are coming into the classrooms, but we feel that there are not enough apps and applications out there that help children understand programming. So we did in our group, we did a whole survey of the kinds of apps that are there. A lot of them are wonderful games. A lot of them are not so good games. But we have a handful of programming languages, and so we feel that this was a way to get them start programming and taking advantage of the iPad and mom or dad finds out. One of the keys to respond to your question, one of the keys to make sure that it's integrated in the school successfully is if we can show that it is math and the ideas that children learn are aligned with Common Core, the Common Core frameworks, and they are aligned, and in our curriculum we show very clearly how they are aligned. And so I think that's something that teachers are looking forward, and they want to know that by using ScratchJr, they're also meeting the math and literacy requirements that happen in early childhood.
Although I think Grant asked, do you see ScratchJr as primarily an in-class tool? And I think no, although we've been talking about schools, another reason for going with the iPad is we saw that in a lot of families that are increasingly kids will have access to tablets at home. And we do see this as something of really reaching kids at home and outside of schools and libraries and in other community centers.
Our metaphor is like blocks. So if you go to an early childhood classroom, you have lots of blocks in the classroom, and you have ways of using blocks that might be a little bit different than the ways of using the same blocks at home. And so we wanted to create a tool that could be used in all those ways, with and without the support of the adults. So that was one of the things about ScratchJr. We want kids to be able to start and move on their own. I also want to respond, Grant also had a question about if kids have made games with ScratchJr. Yes, we have a whole curriculum that is devoted for making animated games with ScratchJr. And we've been working last year with a school here in Arlington, Massachusetts, where kindergarten children, first grade children, second grade children spend several weeks building games with ScratchJr. Of course, the games they can build are not as sophisticated as the games they can build with Scratch because we don't have the concept of variables and keeping score. However, they found many interesting ways of making their own games.
That is a great, the kid in one of the test sites is in the Kickstarter video where she very enthusiastically talks about making her own game, and you can see the excitement that she had in making her own game.
And again, that goes back to the Stafford tradition that we were talking at the beginning, where from many years ago, we've been claiming that kids can play again and have fun with the game, that kids can learn a lot more if they are able to create their own game.
Yeah. And I do think it fits, I think some of the guiding principles that I think we both use in our research is, one is to empower kids as creators, but another is to allow kids to work on things that they really care about deeply, to let them follow their own interests. So I think that's something that we've seen with ScratchJr, but letting kids create, but also create things that they really care about. Okay, so Grant asked, what are some of the most creative projects that kids have made on ScratchJr so far, and anything unexpected?
I think everything basically it is unexpected. So we've seen kids created tons of interactive collages, for example, where they create a bunch of characters and they try the character to do the fastest, the biggest, the most showing off. But it is in a sense, so the end result is unexpected, although the behavior of the kindergarten, it is expected. They're going to try to create something that shines and blinks and moves fast and talks a lot of things. We have seen different games.
Yeah, actually.
Go ahead, Amanda.
So I'll just go ahead and turn on my video for just a second. So I was part of the team that went into the classroom a lot. And actually our research team has favorites of the games and stories that the kids have made. One of them that we love to show is Space Cats in Love. So Space Cats in Love was the story of two literally star-crossed cats who the child had built this whole world of astronaut suits, and there were fairies in space, but it was all a really tight story, and the cats were connected to each other and talking about, like, one professed its love and ran away across space, and it was an interstellar chase. But it was so interesting because the child, I mean, she had started the curriculum. She was curious, but she was pretty sure she wasn't going to be good at ScratchJr. But then she just got so invested in the Space Cats in Love story, and she couldn't stop. So she actually carried that whole theme throughout 3 units of the curriculum, going back to her space cats who were in love, and she was in love with Space Cats in Love. We're all now in love with the space cats. And she actually, I think we went back and spoke to the teachers later, and they said that she loved it so much. They got to keep beta versions on the iPads that this school used, and she has gone back several times, iteratively made different chapters in the story.
Actually, the point that Amanda is talking about, this idea of creating stories, we see a lot of stories. And it has to do also with at that point, kids have, writing workshop and reading workshop. So it's a time in their school life where they are learning how to tell stories and how to read stories. And we've seen that transfer and translate to ScratchJr, where also because we build this notion of pages that really facilitates and supports kids telling a sequence. So not just random facts, but following the sequence of what happens first and what happens next.
I think another thing which is great that I think we've seen with this, as with a lot of our previous projects, is that sometimes when people hear about computer programming and coding, they expect certain types of kids to shine, the kids who have been traditionally strong in math. But I think that we've seen a wide diversity of kids really shine in ScratchJr. So that also opens up the teachers' eyes to some of the possibilities of that certain kids who they wouldn't have expected to be able to be so good at computer programming really shine in ScratchJr.
So I see a question from Emma that's asking about if we've worked with, if we've done any tests with kids with autism and ScratchJr. We have not. We have, however, we've been asked that question always, not just with autism, but with kids with learning difficulties. And that's something that there's so much we can do with so little time and with a small team. I'm very, very curious, and we have had no experience, but we're looking forward for people who do know about this population to really try it out and give us your feedback.
We've had a lot of, with Scratch, not with ScratchJr, the Scratch being out there for a while. There's a lot of interest in Scratch from among, educators who work with young people along the autism spectrum. And there's been a lot of interest because there believe some of those young people with autism really have become very engaged with Scratch. I think some of the teachers feel that it provides them a type of controlled environment where they can really, control things in ways that they really dive into and get very engaged with Scratch. So I know it's a topic. We have a Scratch conference later this summer. In fact, I should mention that ScratchJr, there'll also be workshops in ScratchJr and discussions of ScratchJr at that conference. That conference is in early August, August 6th through 9th at the MIT Media Lab. And at that conference, there's some teachers who are talking about their experiences using Scratch with kids with autism. So if you're interested in finding out more, coming to the Scratch conference could be one way of learning more. Also, there's a Scratch Ed website where educators share ideas and stories about their use of Scratch. So if you go to the Scratch Ed website, just search for Scratch Ed, and you'll see discussions there about, on this topic.
And again, we are looking forward to hear from you. We are just beginning the journey of ScratchJr. Hopefully in 7 years, when we do another of these webinars, we'll be able to say, well, now there are people who are using ScratchJr with kids with autism. So do give us your feedback if you are going to try it out.
We just have a couple minutes left. We'll see if there's any last-minute questions or parting questions that people have. Well, we're just so excited. First of all, I want to thank all of you again for your support for ScratchJr. And then looking ahead, we're just really excited about getting your feedback. As Marina said, it's been great for us as we've been working with prototypes, trying it in local schools and with local families here. We know we're going to learn so much more once ScratchJr gets out there to the world this summer, and we really look forward to hearing from you to hear about your experiences and your suggestions as we continue to work with ScratchJr.
Okay.
So, anyway, thanks a lot for joining us for the webinar, and we look forward to staying in touch with you and look forward to hearing about your experiences with ScratchJr.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.